pinning in Jiu-Jitsu has two distinct phases. The first is a tactical phase, which we've seen a little bit of already. And the second is its physical manifestation. Okay. If we have an opponent down on his back, from any situation where my opponent works like so, the tactical element of pinning is I got to get past my opponent's legs and get some kind of contact with his torso, either with my knee, my chest, or my hips. Okay, so once again, pinning in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu, the tactical element is I've got to begin by getting past my opponent's legs. That never really changes. Okay, so for example, if I'm working with my training partner like so, here we look at a simple method of getting past our opponent's legs. Okay, once we get past our opponent's legs, then we have several directions we can go. We can go chest to chest situation, where I can finish with a knee on my training partner's stomach. I can finish with my chest on his chest, or with my hips over his hips. There is, of course, the other option that off the guard pass, my opponent may well end up exposing his back to me. And from here, if we get hooks in, from here, we're ready to pin chest to back. So, tactically, pinning in Jiu-Jitsu is easy conceptually to understand. First, get past your legs. Once you get past your opponent's legs, then it's about getting some kind of contact with your opponent's torso. There are chest-to-chest versions. These would be knee on stomach, chest on chest, or hips over hips. And there are chest on back versions where my chest touches my training partner's back and my two hooks go in. So that's our tactical understanding of pinning in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu. But now we need to go further. Now we need to look at the physical side of pinning in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu. And this is a topic that I want you to understand on a very deep level. Whenever you say to someone, what is the mechanical basis of pinning? They'll always tell you the same thing. Body weight. You're on top of the guy. Well, there's some problems with that. First, you're sitting in front of the fence. In Jiu-Jitsu, this would be considered a pin. It's actually one of the highest scoring pin, along with the mounted position. And yet, is my body weight on top of Mateus? Of course not. His body weight is actually on top of mine. And yet, this counts as the highest scoring pin. So clearly, there's something of an issue here. It's not just about who's on top and whose body weight is on top. Many of the pins do involve body weight. But let's perform an interesting experiment. Mateus, you're going to lie down on your back. I'm going to put a huge percentage of my body weight on Mateus by going chest to chest and taking my knees off the ground, so that a very significant percentage of my body weight is on top of him. So here I am, chest to chest, like so. My knees are off the mat, so Mateus is feeling quite a bit of my body weight. With my hands behind my back, Mateus, just go to put me back in guard. It's ridiculously easy. I had a huge percentage of my body weight on top of him, and yet he blasted out in a matter of seconds, and it was extremely easy for him to do so. Why was it so easy for him? Because I didn't have any wedges around his body. There was nothing stopping his body weight from moving. My body weight didn't stop his from moving. Now let's contrast that with a different experiment. This time, I'm going to put no body weight on Mateus. But I'm going to put a wedge over his far hip, a wedge with my knee at his near hip, and a wedge here at the bicep, at his neck. I currently have no contact with my chest with Mateus's chest. When he goes to move, it's very difficult for him. Isn't that odd? In the case where I had a very high percentage of my body weight on my opponent, he got out very easily. In the case where I had 0% of my body weight on him, he struggled to get out. What was the difference? In one case, there were no wedges, and in the other case, there were wedges. The basis of pinning in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu is not body weight. It's wedging. It's my ability to create wedges around the most important parts of my opponent's body when it comes to generating movement from bottom. And those most important parts are his hips and his head. When the hips and the head can move, and just do some shrimping potatoes, when the hips and head can move, your opponent can escape. It doesn't matter how much body weight I put on Mateus. His hips are moving. It's so easy for him to put me back in guard. Body weight is not the most important part of pinning. Wedging is the centerpiece of pinning. The function of body weight in pinning is simply to reinforce the wedges. That's all it does. You don't have to put so much weight on your opponent as you have to construct strong wedges around your opponent's hips and head and then reinforce them with whatever body weight you have. That's why small people can often pin much bigger people. So, if I'm on top of my training partner and I form a strong wedge at my training partner's hip and reinforce it on the other side with my knee, and then this strong wedge going underneath the lat muscle. As Mateus goes to move in a situation like this, he feels for the first time it's going to be a struggle to put me back in guard. Why? Because the two parts of his body that need to move, the head and the hips, are being wedged in place. The function of my body weight here is just to reinforce the wedges. So as Mateus goes for his escapes, my body weight simply reinforces the wedges. Remember, the primary element of your pins are the wedges you construct around your opponent's head and hips, and you reinforce those with whatever body weight you have. That's the physical basis of pinning in the sport of Jiu-Jitsu.